Hey, Bayek, it's me, Ian, and I'm continuing my look at the Arrow box set of the 6 Gothic tales starring Vincent Price and directed by Roger Corman. And this is The Haunted Palace from 1963. Wow, I'm absolutely loving this box set. You can't believe that these films were sort of completed filmed in 15 days, and they're amazing. Absolutely, the effects on they do with the low budgets, amazing films. You don't get them like that nowadays. I'll tell the back you don't. But anyhow, 87 minutes long, perfect. Rotten Tomatoes give it 71%, which is quite consistent with these. But I think critics and people really now have grown to love these films and see how good they really are. I mean, they're just outstanding. Now, we've got a new screenplay writer called Charles Beaumont. Now, I was immediately excited the fact that he was the screenplay writer on The Mask of the Red Death, 1964, which I absolutely adore. It's a great vehicle for Vincent Price, and he's an amazing film. And Roger Corman again, it's just an amazing film. I've reviewed it and talk about it a lot. Then I discover he did loads of Twilight Zone episodes. Wow, the legendary, wonderful Twilight Zone. He was a great writer on there. Wow, I mean, that just made it. Now, his screenplay is based on an Edgar Allan Poe poem, The Haunted Palace. But it's a poem, so they wanted a story. And where did they turn to? They turned to a novella called The Case of Charles Dexter Ward. And that was published in 2 parts. In an edited version in 1941, and then a complete version in 1943. They're only novellas, but they were put together. And of course, the important part, it's H.P. Lovecraft. Yes, that name now, which has become very famous, often seen as a successor in many ways to Lovecraft. Lovecraft is a successor, definitely, to Edgar Allan Poe. That is how it's seen, I think, in many ways. And the 60s were perfect for Lovecraft to develop, and now he's still talked about, and such, well, a lot of very interesting stories have come from Lovecraft, as we know. Hey, by heck. Now, it's produced and directed, of course, by Roger Corman, yeah, and what a great job again he does. There's so much almost love in these films for the subject matter that he's dealing with. He's just got that wonderful touch as a director, and to be able to do it all in 15 days under this kind of pressure, it's just amazing. It's one of the secrets I heard that before he filmed these, about 2 weeks before he actually started to film, he would talk to the actors involved and go through kind of rehearsals, and so that when they came to actually do the filming, it was all done. There was no need to discuss things in the script and anything. Fantastic. So everybody knew what they were doing, and they did it. It's like, in a way, that, like I always talk about Hammer, how they did the same kind of thing, where everything was so well run and put together. This was as well amazing, and especially with the length of time. Well, it's as usual headed by Vincent Price, who one outstanding performance. He plays the original Joseph Kerwin in the first sort of part of the film, but also dominates the film. But then he plays the other character, which is a real great grandson, Charles Dexter Ward, and it's very interesting what goes on there. It is. Then we've got Deborah Padgett, who plays Anne Ward, his wife. We have mentioned her before. She was in Love Me Tender, which is that Elvis Presley film, 1956. But she was in the Tales of Terror. She was in the story The Facts in the Case of M. Valdemar. Brilliant. You remember that one? Fantastic. Then we have Frank Maxwell playing Dr. Marius Willett. He's an important part of this film. He's the bridge between the village and the new arrivals, and how he has to kind of work things out, try and help the situation. He's very good in this part. He had such a lot of sort of small roles, but I was interested in the fact that his career did continue, and he played a role in an action kind of film, which was Mr. Majestica, 1974 Bronson film. Bronson at his height is in that film. Yes. Then we've got the other actor you recognise straight away. It's Lon Chaney, like Karloff, who incidentally was considered for this role, but apparently was not ready for this role. So they chose Lon Chaney, another of these legends, and he plays Simon Orne, and he, of course, always stands out. I didn't realise he had such a massive career even before he became famous for The Wolfman, and he always played these little roles, but they were always outstanding. Yeah, so I mean, he is famous. I didn't realise how much he had played the Wolfman, but it's later as well, because the Wolfman isn't until 1941. Then we have Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, 1943. 1944, House of Frankenstein. 1945, House of Dracula. And then, of course, he was in the Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein film as well. So this was the period when he actually played the Wolfman in the 1940s. He wasn't in that first wave of Universal monsters in the 30s. So that's interesting. But yeah, it's good to see these actors, and there he is, Lon Chaney, brilliant. Then we've got Milton Parsons playing Jabez Hutchinson. He's one of these actors that's often uncredited, plays a lot of small roles, particularly in films, but had a big career in TV work and was involved a lot in TV things. And then we've got a face that I recognised straight away. I thought, I've seen him in quite a few films, classic films as well. And his name was Elisha Cook. Now, in this, he plays two sort of parts. He stands out. He's Mika Smith and Peter Smith. Because this is the first part where we see the characters, then we see their ancestors later on. But the film he stands out, he was in The Maltese Falcon as the main villain. I hope that ain't a spoiler, but yes, 1941, the classic. And then I looked, I thought, I know him as well in The Big Sleep, which I talk about a lot. It is an absolute favourite film of mine, Bogart and Bacall, 1946. But yes, I can see him in that role now in The Big Sleep. It's great. Bogart is fantastic. And yes, I can talk about that one. And then, to top it all, he was in Rosemary's Baby. I didn't know that. 1968, which is another of my favourite films. Wow. Just amazing. Absolutely amazing. I'm so pleased when I see that. But he's got one of them faces you just recognise. This is fantastic. Anyhow, what's the film about? Well, it starts in 1765, and Kerwin is a practicing warlock who the villagers basically take law into their own hands. They alive set him on fire, and like you do with witches and warlocks, and he curses the village and all the descendants. And then we move forward over 100 years, and his great grandson Charles Dexter Ward and his wife come to the village to take inheritance of the palace that he lived at. Yes. And of course that they see all the kind of things that have been going on in the village in the past, and it's all there. The curse looks like it's been having its own effect on the, and they're not pleased to see him at all. And then of course as this develops, this is where we get this brilliant acting by Vincent Price, as he is kind of taken over by the spirit of Kerwin, and is there further to extract revenge against what they did to him. Fantastic. And this is how the film develops, and is wonderful. I think there's so much you can talk about this film, but I won't go on too much. Just incidentally, fun facts, as they say. Apparently, some of the additional dialogue in this film was added by the famous director Francis Ford Coppola, who was an assistant on this film. There you are. And also, it was the first film in which Corman used a new zoom lens. Yes. What can you say? This film, it's atmosphere. It's not a technicolor film at all, and that's what I love about it. It's all got that foggy, dark shadow kind of atmosphere. It's there all the time. It's almost like there's no daytime. There's no bright colours or anything, and everything's got atmosphere to it. This sounds contradictory, but it's almost like it's a beautiful, gloomy time. Yes, it's got this gloom, but it's kind of beautiful in the way you look at it. Even the cemeteries, the small village houses, the palace even. The palace is just, it looks uninhabitable, really. It's so, you don't know how anybody could live there. But it's amazing. That's what he's done with the atmosphere, and he's created. It's so good, and I love it. I just can't recommend this film enough. Again, all of them have been good, and this just tops it all. And I say, Vincent Price, he elevates once again these films. Absolutely spot on. You really love him in these kind of roles, and I think if you've not seen it, you should see this film. We should see them all. They're all great. And so I'll just say, here it is again. Here is the wonderful box set. And that was the 5th film. We've only got one more left. Oh dear. So next week we'll get the final 6th one from the box set. Okay, so, well, hope you've enjoyed that. Yes. Anyhow, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe, and if you do watch and haven't subscribed, please subscribe. It costs no, and we'll let you know when I put out these videos. And then if you like this, please give it a like. It helps with algorithms, and hopefully more people then might get to like, or maybe they won't like these videos. And if you've got any comments, please put those comments down. I love to read what you think about these things, or perhaps you don't. I don't know, but yeah, it's all really grand, I say, and it all costs no. So as a Yorkshireman, you're going to say, "Hey, that's really good. It costs no." Yep, brilliant. So all you got to say is, I'll see thee again.